Stunning result from the world of boxing. Anthony Joshua, who entered his fight on Saturday from Wembley Stadium in London as a -500 favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook, goes down to Daniel Dubois via fifth-round knockout to defend his IBF heavyweight championship. Dubois came out with a head of steam, controlled the fight from start to finish before knocking out Joshua for good in round 5. It's just the second time, people, in Joshua's career that he has been KO'd. And for more, we welcome in CBS Sports boxing analyst Brian Campbell. BC, Anthony Joshua, as we talked about, entered this fight as a -500 favorite against Daniel Dubois. How do you explain this stunning result here on Saturday?
I mean, first and foremost, Chris, it's heavyweight boxing, and in this case, heavyweight championship boxing, which means it's just different. Anything can happen, and anything can change with one punch. But this specific fight, we had the wrong narrative, and we had the wrong man coming in. Even though Dubois was the defending IBF champion, the narrative was that Anthony Joshua was rejuvenated. He had suffered those losses before, the upset knockout loss to Andy Ruiz, losing his title in back-to-back fights to current unified champion Alexander Usyk. But that recent knockout stretch from AJ, which really came after that 4-day darkness isolation retreat he went to, where he really seemed to turn things around, it was as if we were already fitting him to become the IBF champion once again and set him up to maybe face the winner of Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2 later this year. The problem is, right, Daniel Dubois, under the shadows, was just as rejuvenated. And that's the thing with heavyweight boxing. Not only can you win the fight out of nowhere with one punch, your career can go high and low and make big comebacks because heavyweights age later than normal. They have that ability to bounce back and rejuvenate themselves. This was about Daniel Dubois' comeback story. Counted out when he got stopped by Joe Joyce when they were both unbeaten a few years back, only to find out he had a double eye fracture and was unable to continue. People called him a quitter. Even through Dubois losing his title opportunity to Usyk in a fight he got stopped, people labeled him as not good enough. Yet what did Dubois do in this fight? Took the fight directly to Anthony Joshua from the opening bell. Why does that matter? Because Anthony Joshua, for as great and decorated he has been as a star, as a former unified champion, he can be hit, he can be hurt, he can be vulnerable. The reason why this fight ultimately went the way it did, because Daniel Dubois came in there like a Mack truck, refusing to be denied, took power punches to AJ from the opening bell, never allowed him to get comfortable, never allowed him to get into a rhythm. 96,000 people inside Wembley just saw history, and what they also saw was the perfect kind of heavyweight slugfest that births new fans all around the world. For a one-sided fight, this was as edge of your seat as you could have possibly been. And once again, we had the wrong man. This was Dubois' comeback story in full display.
He was a man on a mission, to say the least, BC. Now, with the win, Dubois improves to 22-2 in his career to go along with 21 knockouts. What exactly does this win do for his career and how people view him?
It's like an overnight turnaround. And I know you might be saying, well, wasn't he the champion coming in? He was, but he defeated Filip Hrgović for the vacant title that was stripped from Alexander Usyk because of the politics of boxing. He didn't want to make the right mandatory defense at the right time, so the title became vacant. Why does this fight matter more? Well, one, because it's against Anthony Joshua, right? And it's on as big of a stage as you can possibly get. 96,000 inside of the outdoor Wembley Stadium in London, which has so much, not just history or boxing history, but heavyweight boxing history. The same site, by the way, where Anthony Joshua once took that torch from Vladimir Klitschko when they both got up off the canvas in that classic 2017 slugfest. But you fast forward 7 years later, and it was truly Daniel Dubois' time. So what this fight and this result does is it makes him a legitimate player in this heavyweight title picture right now. And again, it sounds crazy. He already had a world title, right? But when he's going to put that performance mixed with the 2 knockouts he just scored against Jarrell Big Baby Miller, against Hrgović for the vacant title, those were nice step-forward opportunities. But when you walk in there against a rejuvenated Anthony Joshua and you knock him down 5 times in 5 rounds before eventually splattering him face first to the canvas, you make a statement. that you're not just a title holder in this division, you're a threat to the real crown. Now, if you want to talk about that real crown, the 3 titles are around the waist of Alexander Usyk. He defeated Tyson Fury earlier this year in one of the greatest heavyweight title fights of this modern era. They're going to have a rematch in December. But Dubois, who gave Usyk fits before he got stopped. Remember, he knocked Usyk down. Some people thought Usyk got knocked out. Turns out the ref called it a low blow. But this was the fight where you have to take Daniel Dubois seriously, whether he's fighting Usyk, Fury, Joshua Wilder, name any of the heavyweights. The determination that he showed, he's always been athletic, 6'5", good jab. But the mindset is different right now. And when he's going to be willing, which he was on this afternoon, to jump all over Anthony Joshua and not even give him a chance to breathe, you're dealing with a dangerous player in this division and really an overnight superstar turn for a guy who was respected, but counted out many times. Count out Daniel Dubois. No more. They called himself Triple D right now. That was a dynamite performance.
100%, man. Now, looking ahead, what do you think? We all know what could happen, right? But what do you think should be next for Dubois following this signature win that puts him into a whole different light?
Well, you know what happens when you fight a big superstar in boxing, right? Even if he doesn't have a title, which AJ did not have in this case. A lot of times you got to fight you got to sign that 2-fight contract, that automatic rematch clause. In this case, Anthony Joshua had that. After the fight, he seemed to indicate, and so did his promoter Eddie Hearn, that they would want to activate that they would want to do this a second time. So if you're Dubois, that's what's going to be in front of you. But you know he wants that rematch with Usyk. Should Usyk get by Fury a second time in December? And I think what we're setting the stage here is almost like a tournament, right? We know Alexander Usyk right now, the most decorated, the best heavyweight in the game, undefeated, has 3 of 4 titles. But whoever comes out of Fury Usyk 2 would probably fight the winner of whoever comes out of Dubois Joshua 2. And then what you have right there is another opportunity to have all 4 titles on the line and have one name, one face, one champion atop the heavyweight division. Why does that matter? Because as the heavyweight division goes, so does boxing. A classic quote from the Hall of Fame writer Burt Sugar and pundit, but it's so true. Heavyweight boxing is the gateway drug for the sport. The way that you can wake up your dad, your grandpa, right? The people that used to love this game, and you can get them excited again. What's next for Daniel Dubois? Probably a second time with AJ, but even more important, a chance to crash this party for real and maybe next year have a shot at being that last man standing in the division.
And that would be remarkable for him given his whole career trajectory. Now, as for Anthony Joshua, his 4-fight winning streak comes to an end. He was looking to possibly face, as he referenced, the Fury Usyk winner, but it appears he blew his chance at that. What in your mind is next for Anthony Joshua? Because this is definitely something, BC, that he was not, and his camp were not expecting coming into the match.
No, definitely not. But as he indicated after the fight, he did put some blame on himself, and he should. He was backing up with his hands down and his chin up, making crucial mistakes that led to this defeat. So I know what people are going to say. Hey, I've seen AJ get knocked out before by Andy Ruiz, and now I see him get flattened here. He's done, right? I wouldn't say that yet. Look, if there's been a theme in Anthony Joshua's career, even when he was the unbeaten champion, it was the fact that he is vulnerable. This is the heavyweight division. He doesn't have an iron chin. He can be hurt. In the past, he's gotten up from being hurt. He's won a lot of those fights. But I think that spirit inside of him has allowed him to come back a few times. Boy, did we count him out after the 2 Usyk losses, yet he went on that destructive run that led to this fight. He said afterwards, in a very calm and cool, collected way, which is different than we've seen him in the past after big losses. He said, look, I will be back. I'll pick up the pieces. And if there's one silver lining in what was ultimately a one-sided drubbing on the brightest stage possible, it's this. AJ never stopped trying to win this fight. He never stopped getting up off the canvas. 5 knockdowns in 5 rounds. He was constantly back up, trying hard. In fact, the punch that finished him in round 5, that big overhand right from Dubois, AJ had just hurt Dubois for the first time in that fight, backed him up in the corner, and really looked like the momentum could be shifting. Why does that matter? It matters because AJ hasn't always been looked at as a guy who has that true warrior heart. When he got stopped against Ruiz, people questioned his heart. A lot of that has happened throughout his career. I think whatever he's gone through in recent years, it has made him mentally stronger. Again, this is heavyweight. You can get knocked down. You can get knocked out. You also can get back up and retry again. I would not count out Anthony Joshua at all in a Daniel Dubois rematch. despite what we just saw, because he does have that 6'6" frame, power in both hands, ridiculous athleticism for a heavyweight, and he's always been a very good boxer just the same. Maybe not good enough to outbox Usyk twice, but certainly good enough to come back here in another stadium fight, in a second chance, and roll the dice one more time. Anthony Joshua's not perfect. He never has been. But he has been resilient. Let's give him that respect and see what he can do in a potential rematch.
Well, I'll say this, BC. If he's as locked in and energized as you were for the segment, we'll definitely take him at his word and see if he can back up his talk and take down Daniel Dubois. Brian Campbell, we appreciate the time as always.